After 3 horrific rapes of young girls shamed the capital once again, the Delhi government has decided to form a panel of ministers to propose changes to rape laws, including treating those who are 15 and above as adults in serious crimes. The 2-year-old toddler, who was the latest victim, is expected to be discharged from hospital soon. 2 boys, both just 17, are accused of raping her.
If Arvind Kejriwal gets his way, boys like these, who are 16 and 17, would be facing a life term or a death sentence for heinous crimes like child rape. The Delhi Chief Minister wants juveniles aged 15 and over to be treated as adults if their crime falls in the heinous category.
डर खत्म हो चुका है दिल्ली के अंदर.
The Delhi Chief Minister held a special session of the Cabinet, and a group of ministers headed by Law Minister Manish Sisodia has been constituted specifically for this purpose.
अगर किसी माइनर के साथ रेप होता है तो उसमें सजा या तो लाइफ इम्प्रिजनमेंट और या डेथ पेनल्टी होनी चाहिए. अगर रेप, मर्डर या कोई हीनस क्राइम होता है तो उस केस में जुवेनाइल वाली जो एज है वो 15 साल होनी चाहिए.
Immediately, moral education must be introduced, value education must be introduced for boys in the schools and colleges, and besides, it should be introduced as a compulsory subject. It should also be seen that if anybody is showing any vagrant, deviant behavior, then schools should have adequate number of psychologists as well as people expert in social science.
In the past 2 weeks, there have been 3 cases of sexual assault against children where the victims were between 2 to 5 years of age. These 2 boys, minors both of them, have been arrested for raping a 2-year-old in West Delhi on Friday, yet again opening up the debate over juvenile crime.
These juveniles are in the neighborhood. One of them stays hardly maybe 20 yards from the house of the victim.
वो नाबालिग हो गया मगर वो इतना सा वो नाबालिग नहीं है. छोटा बच्चा वो नाबालिग नहीं है.
Arvind Kejriwal has also renewed his demand for control over the Delhi police. He also met the Lieutenant Governor Navdeep Junk over the matter. Delhi Chief Minister's latest move to lower the juvenile age and also come up with a parallel police setup is bound to create another friction point between the centre and the state. It also comes at a time when experts argue that police cannot enter every household and that the battle against sexual assault is that of the mindset. So, is Mr. Kejriwal's move, though well-meaning, going to offer any help? In New Delhi with camera person Manoj, I'm Sonal Mehrotra, NDTV.
Well, joining us tonight, we have Ashish Khaitan still with us, Kiran Bedi, former IPS officer, and Kavita Krishnan, women's activist, joining us here in the studio. Let me ask Kavita first, because I know that this is going to get heated. What do you think of what Kejriwal has proposed today in terms of a possible solution or a roadmap?
I think it's extremely, it's extremely misguided and very, very unfortunate. Because this was a government that was talking about implementing the Justice Verma recommendations. All the recommendations that I heard just now, the proposals of the government, go against what the Justice Verma Commission considered but rejected. And their proposals instead were very different from this. The problem of child sexual abuse and child rape is not one of strangers or juveniles outside the home doing it. It is very largely a problem of people inside homes doing it, especially even parents, uncles and so on. And there, I'm not saying this to let the police off the hook. In our experience as activists of taking up such cases, the police tend to blame mothers who are reporting such crimes, accuse the mothers of being, of levying these charges, leveling these charges against other family members for property and so on. So it actually, justice in these cases suffers from the same hurdles that the domestic violence cases suffer from, which is the bogey of misuse and which is the pressure on children and women to remain subordinate and not question authority. So actually you need a variety of interventions by the government, which the government is not talking about, which is number one, stepping up to ensure that there's a widespread education, not moral education, but actually education so that you get talking about child sexual abuse, so that children are better equipped to understand what abuse is, to set boundaries for their own bodies, to stand up to authority, to disobey adults, resist the pressure to be obedient even to abusive adults, and so on. This is one of the big things that can be done. Of course, the police accountability is very important, but accountability to what? Criminalizing juveniles. This is a very, very misplaced thing. I've made these arguments before at length.
We've had this debate
Women's
so many
groups have
times
had
since
and we
December
seem to
16.
have to keep covering the same ground over
So
and over.
Ashish, let me take that to you first. I mean, you've heard what Kavita said as someone who has worked on these issues so closely. She doesn't feel this is the right step, Ashish. And may I ask you that isn't there a lot of double standard here by the AAP as well, which attacked Sheila Dikshit when she was Chief Minister when the Nirbhaya rape case happened, and said that it is her responsibility. At that time she said, well, the police isn't under my control. You're facing the same problem today.
No state government can sit idly or just be a mute spectator to incidents like what we are seeing in Delhi today. 2.5-year-old, 5-year-old girls getting brutally raped, gang raped, left on public spaces to bleed to death. This is horrifying. This is gut-wrenching. And we as a government cannot sit idly to it. Sheila Dikshit may have sat idly and said that all the responsibility is of police. We as a state government, we want to do our bit. What can we do? Criminal law is a concurrent subject. We believe that in horrific crimes, in crimes of heinous nature, one should not distinguish between a 15-year-old boy or an 18-year-old boy. When you are raping a 2-year-old kid, a 5-year-old kid, or a woman or a girl of any age, how can just a few years of age be the determining factor that whether that person will spend 30 years in jail or will he just walk out after 3 years spending in reform house? I think that is completely unjust. One simply has to step into the shoes of the victim or their families to realize the pain when they see the perpetrator of a crime walking out of a juvenile home just after spending 3 years. That's point number one. Number two, I have read Justice Verma committee report very carefully. We are very serious in implementing it in its totality, and that's why we have floated a draft bill of the Charter of Women's Rights. But that doesn't mean that we cannot propose something which is in addition to what is there in Justice Verma report. Justice Verma report says that for repeat offenders, there should be death.
No, it does not.
That in the case of
Justice
rape of a
Verma
minor,
committee does not recommend the
death.
death penalty anywhere, Ashish. Justice Verma committee specifically
In the
rejects
case
the
of
death
repeat
penalty
offender,
at great length. It does not recommend the death penalty. You're wrong there.
That can be a matter of debate.
Let me just get
Absolutely no debate there at all.
Let me get Kiran Bedi's first thoughts on this before I run that political question.
For you, there cannot be any debate. For the people of Delhi, there certainly is
no, on what the Justice Verma committee says there can't be any debate is what I say.
Ms. Bedi, your thoughts on this and what is again becoming also an ugly center-state battle. Is that affecting law and order in Delhi, Kiran Bedi?
Nidhi, that's exactly the problem. The problem is that each one is putting a blame game. I think the blame game has been in the past, it has not been the solution. The point is, every time there is a crimes against women or a child or the vulnerable, it's a social failure. It's a failure of the immediate society. In these cases, these are dropout children, boys, young dropouts, boys who are weak in studies and actually absenting from classes, and boys who are vulnerable to addictions very early, boys who are in the immediate neighborhood and into vagrancy. This is becoming the profile of most of these cases which have been happening in the past. What's happening is that you have a blame game always. Instead of the blame game, each agency, each organization, each power center needs to come together as an organic whole. The organic whole is missing. They're all working in compartments. We cannot work in compartments. We got to work together. I'm speaking through life's experience. We've all gone through whole life experience. How was this such a crime being prevented or under control? It's because of community policing. Which community policing brought together the parent, the principal, the local politician, the prosecutor, even the prison released prisoner, and even the media. These were all brought together. The hubs were the local MLA. The hub was the local police station. The hub was the Lieutenant Governor's office. The hub was the Home Secretary. The hub was the Chief Minister. These people were hubs who brought together the 6 Ps. I talked about the 6 Ps. These are all parents' principles, the prison, the press, the politicians, and the
Ma'am, if you could just give us a moment. I have Mr. Bassi on the line with us.
At the grassroots level.
I have Mr. Bassi, the Police Commissioner of Delhi, on the phone line with us. I just want to get him into this. Mr. Bassi, thank you for joining us on the program this evening. You know, we've seen a rather ugly exchange of words over the last few days between yourself and the Delhi Chief Minister on this issue of law and order, and today he's made a series of announcements, including the possibility of the Aam Aadmi Party setting up its own sort of parallel police force in Delhi. How do you respond to that, Mr. Bassi? Is that even workable?
Good evening, Nidhi. You see, at the outset, I would like to mention that we are committed for the safety of women in Delhi. Whatever any law enforcement agency can do is being done. Besides that, a number of steps have been taken by us in our community outreach to ensure that we help in enhancing safety of women in the city. In this regard, I would like to mention one of our programs which we have titled Nirveek. In this, we visit girls' schools where we try to educate young girls about about good touch and bad touch, and also we try to encourage them to come out with any complaint which they may have against anybody of any exploitation. And in fact, under this scheme, we were able to apprehend a school teacher, we were able to apprehend father, brother, etc. You see, we are doing this in a big way.
But Mr. Bassi, can you say honestly that the police is doing its best? Because when we read these headlines about young children being raped, you know, it's just absolutely horrifying. It gives you a sense that things really haven't changed much after December 16th in the national capital. Isn't that a failure of policing?
No, I can assure you, as far as police is concerned, we have taken that incident very seriously. A lot of water has flown since then, as far as police is concerned. As I said, whatever is possible on the part of law enforcement agencies to do in this regard is being done. And we are walking an extra mile. And we have undertaken certain initiatives to involve the community in the fight against this menace. Our Operation Shistachar, our Operation Ab Nahi Hai Dharna, they all are intended to strengthen the
But then, sir, how do you look at the Chief Minister talking about a parallel police force? How do you see that?
I do not want to enter into a discussion, but I definitely can say he obviously is absolutely wrong when he is talking of a parallel police force. What he needs to do is, there are many areas of governance which contribute to the safety of women in the city. So I will urge CM to concentrate on those areas. For instance, today only I have written a letter to Honorable Deputy Chief Minister, wherein I have brought out to his notice that the unfortunate incident at Anand Vihar was the consequence of a hapless mother leaving his 5-year-old child and 3-year-old child alone at home when she was going to work at other people's places. So I have suggested to Honorable Deputy Chief Minister that there is a need to set up creches so that working women, not only those who come from the poorest state of our society, but even working women who come from middle class, etc., they have a place to leave their children.
Okay.